Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
You look.
I don't run much anymore, so you have to watch what that term Murray's Run brings up.
You're looking kind of tan there. You've been outside getting some sun?
I combed my hair just for my audience a few minutes ago.
Maybe that's what it is. It's the first time you've combed your hair for the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm working up to cutting it, but I don't like to cut it any more often than every 2 years.
So are
Anyway.
you at the 2-year limit?
Oh, I'm past it.
Okay.
It never seems to get much longer than it is, which is fine with me. I don't, I like my barber, but I don't need to see her very often.
Okay. Well, you ready to start looking at some pictures?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let me see if I can find them here.
Now, remember last time my neck got sore because I lean ahead too much. If I'm okay back here, that's the best way for me.
Let's see. I don't want to do that.
Well, I have to put my glasses on sometimes to see the clearness. So I do have to lean ahead. That's okay. I'm not going to. Good grief.
Pull this a little closer.
Give me a test. Now that's on the top of the friggin'
Yeah,
jump.
this is like this. I got to be fair. This you will. Well, I don't think you know this. So my
You
sister,
Photoshop this, Harold.
no, my sister Ellen has been helping me on this project with anything that she can find.
Yeah.
So she found some other memorabilia, and in there was this picture. So this is a high school friend of my sister Ellen named Bess Stutzman.
Yeah.
And Ellen thinks it was in the 1960s.
Yeah. Well, that's the jump for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I hope she didn't jump off.
So
That's really cool. I mean, I remember the bulldozing where on your left you can see the bulldozing.
oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's a wonderful picture. We'll come back to that sometime. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to talking to your siblings when it comes around about some of this stuff, because they probably know more than I imagine they know.
And you know what? Now that I look at this picture, it says September of '68 on it.
Okay, yeah, that adds up.
So
I don't know how long the jump was there, but probably not much beyond 68. It eventually, fell into disuse and went away.
okay.
There may be some remains on the ground there, but we're not allowed. It's inside the fence.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool, and my sister was like,
It is.
Totally forgot about it, but that's a great.
What's
picture.
that in her hand? I wonder. A purse of some sort? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a good.
Well, thank you, Ellen.
Good question. I'm not sure what that is. So I got another family picture.
Wow.
So this same Ellen found this picture as well. So
I recognize your mother right away.
yep. So there's my mom.
Yeah.
And there's my Aunt Margaret.
Okay.
And then
I guess I've met her, but I don't recall.
yeah, because this I should have prefaced. This is a hotel in Orangeville where this picture was taken.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So my mom, my Aunt Margaret, and these were friends of my mom and dad. And I don't know if the Kennedys knew them as well, but it's Mr. and Mrs. Egler.
Okay.
And then this is yours truly right here.
Wow.
Harold Jr.
Okay.
This is my brother John.
Yeah.
And then this is my cousin Paul.
Okay.
So
well, isn't that nice to have that picture?
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So so this is definitely in the 60s.
Yeah. So I was so young, I was, quite unaware of, your family. I mean, I was aware, but I wasn't. So, I mean, I have very few memories.
Yeah. Do you see me, Cynthia?
No, which one are you?
This is me right here.
Okay.
This is
It reminds me of my sister's youngest son at the same time.
Yep. I'm trying to figure out what I'm holding. I can't, some kind of stuffed animal. I don't know what it
A
is. I
stuffed animal, yeah,
can't,
yeah.
can't figure out what it was, but I was holding on to something. So
Everybody needs one.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good picture.
Huh, nice.
All right. So this is,
Oh, I didn't know that one.
yeah, this is, so we're back onto photographs and stuff.
Sunshine, Alberta.
So
Wow.
what can you tell me of why do you have this news clip?
Well, that news clip was made while that chairlift built in Woodstock by Timberland Ellicott Company was being installed. My dad sold it to Sunshine Village, this ski resort in Alberta. He was a good salesman, and they probably wish they didn't buy it, but they did. Anyway, when he was there supervising the installation, I think it was the winter I went to Europe, 63 probably. Anyway, there's a helicopter lifting concrete to put it in on the footing, in the footing. I don't know whether that's him, probably not, but the story with that ski lift is they probably got all the concrete poured. It was so high up above sea level that the helicopters had a good deal of trouble lifting. You know why? The air's thinner there.
Yeah.
I know they had to cut the towers in half and put brackets on, or flanges on both ends and lift them up in two pieces. They were all, arranged to bolt together, but it was really, really difficult and probably really cold. And I remember Mom was at home alone. I was off in Europe, I think. That's probably when I met your father in Kitsfield.
Well, I noticed there's a date down here. It says 1965. So I don't know if you wrote that on there or somebody did.
Well, probably close to that. And
okay.
I could even have been in the country at that time, but I mean, I didn't go with Dad to those gigs that was the farthest away ever he worked on a ski lift.
Okay.
But I skied there once years later on that ski lift. It was a wonderful place to ski. Still going.
So was it a chairlift?
That lift is not there. Yeah, I think it was the first or second chairlift Timberland Ellicott ever built. And they only built 3, I think.
Was it just a double chair?
Yeah, they're all double at that time.
Okay.
I don't know exactly the details, but they probably realized that it's too big a leap for them to get into the chairlift business. Meanwhile, several companies, a couple of them American, were really big in that. So they made a deal with this company called Riblet, which had a state-of-the-art chairlifts made in Oregon, I think. So they started selling them. And I know we sold 2 up at Georgian Peaks, and I helped to install those 2. But look at those mountains. Aren't they marvelous?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the significance of this article is because your dad sold them this chairlift, and he also helped install the lift itself.
He supervised that. He was there for weeks staying at Sunshine up the lodge. This is way up in the mountains. This is really mountain country.
Yeah. I don't know if do you remember, I was telling you a story on one of our previous episodes, but your dad was telling me about one of the guys getting shocked because of the static electricity, because they didn't ground they were handling.
That could have been there. I don't remember that story.
No, I definitely remember your dad telling me, and it's weird what I remember, but for some reason, I probably was fascinated with the whole helicopter lifting stuff. And
my hairdresser's messing with my hair, Harold. Will you tell her to go away?
I just harvested a huge amount of garlic scapes. I had to show these to you.
What is that?
Garlic scapes.
Oh, okay.
It's the flower of the garlic, which you harvest before it blooms, because once it blooms, then you lose the bulb.
Oh, okay.
So
and you can eat the scapes.
You can eat the scapes. So this is garlic. They're very early this year because everything is happening early. So
can you smell it, Harold?
I can. But yeah, for some reason, I do remember your dad telling me about that. And then for some reason, I also remember stories about a Cat D9. So I don't know if it had to do with this lift or just some other.
Wow.
project.
I don't recall that one, but given the altitude, static electricity, you would know more than I about this, but it could have been a problem. But I know originally, I don't think we had to ground every tower like way back in the 60s, but sooner or later you had to ground every tower. I remember trying to drive those crazy ground rods into, rocky soil. But every tower had to be grounded, in case the lightning hit the tower and fried a bunch of skiers because it went along the cable, even though the wheels were the liners of the idlers were an insulating material. But the story went, if you got, killed on your ski lift, you're going to get sued for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was one heck of a project for your dad to be involved in.
Well, he worked for Timberland Ellicott, and he talked them into their whole line of ski lifts. So I don't know whether whether he was quaking in his boots or not. He's a pretty courageous guy.
Do you remember like how long that lift was? Because the pommel lift was 2,000 feet. Do you have any idea?
That would have been 2,000 feet long, likely.
Okay.
It was a big chairlift. Like that place was already, 5,000 or 6,000 feet above sea level at the bottom of the hill. And the top was another 1,000. It may not have been much more than 1,000 vertical. I skied there once. I went to a ski instructor's course there, but a wonderful place to ski. But it's like above the tree line. There are no trees there.
Yeah, it says right here in the article, it says the ski lodge is at 7,100 feet.
Really, there you go.
And then the helicopter lifts the base of the tower chairlift to 8,000 feet. So
my recollection isn't bad.
no, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, those mountains are incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I have a couple other stories about that place, but later.
Yeah, because like I said, I do remember and like I said, I have no idea why you remember what stories you remember, but I definitely remember your dad telling me.
Well, Sunshine Village is a well-known ski area in Canada. It's not the biggest like Whistler, but it's quite well known because it's high up and the snow is probably quite dry there.
Okay. Yeah, that is.
It's not too far from Calgary, but people fly in and, they have to take a bus up to get to this place. It's a long bus ride to get just to the bottom of the hill.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got next. Well, this is kind of an old.
Yeah. The bottom of we call it the T-bar. The first T-bar we had was, that's it.
Looks like people left their skis on the ground here.
Well, often they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like the snow got a beating that day. It looks like it's pretty well.
Well, yeah, there are cars parked there, not a lot of them, but yeah, I mean, people had to walk from the parking lot up to the chalet. So that would be their footprints right up that path.
So they were basically walked out of the chalet and basically took a picture because I see the farm down here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Very familiar.
Yeah. I didn't see a date on that picture, so I'm not sure.
Oh, well, the T-bar was built in probably 63, so it'll be after that.
Okay.
Now, we may come up with all these dates. Oh, my goodness, there's Bill Spires and me, skinny guys.
Who's that stud?
Bill Spires was my best friend, high school friend from Brantford, and he helped me plant those 20,000 trees. And that is on the house, what we call the house hill, just on the east side of the fifth line where it curves around. There's a house on it now. I pointed that out to you, but it's quite close to that parking lot. But this is up on a hill. We were into cedar rails. It was a cool thing to have a cedar rail fence. So we built that cedar rail fence around where Mom and Dad were going to build their house.
Oh, okay.
They never built their house there, and they, they ended up at the top of the hill, the real house.
Okay.
So that's me and Bill.
I do remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I've lost that picture. I mean, I knew I had it, but thank you for digging out those slides. That's really nice. Yeah. Eventually, I don't even know if Bill's alive, but maybe in our travels we'll figure out how to get a hold of people like Bill, and sending him that picture would probably floor him. He had to wear glasses. He didn't have great eyesight.
Okay.
But he's my best friend.
How do you spell his last name?
Spiers, pronounced Spires.
Okay.
If he's still alive, he lives in Nova Scotia, probably a place called Shelburne, Nova Scotia, or something like that. Anyway, I haven't talked to him for like 45 years.
That's the last thing you knew? He was living out in Nova Scotia?
I did go to his place once. He went to university about that time. He maybe was in university then. I didn't, and he and our other friend, John Guest, both went to universities in Southern Ontario. And Bill became a veterinarian. He was in Saskatchewan for a couple of years. He had married a woman from Northern Ontario who was also a vet. And they moved to Nova Scotia because Saskatchewan was too empty and too far between clients. But I went to Nova Scotia. I met him and his wife there. I have no idea what happened after that.
Okay. Did you have the name of a town, or what did you said somewhere in Nova
Well,
Scotia?
I said Shelburne. Look at my map when I'm done, and then maybe I can come up
Okay.
with the name of a town. I did go there, and I know pretty much where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, he would really keel over if he saw that.
What
I don't
year-
even know if he has kids.
What year do you think this picture was taken?
Well, probably, 63 to 65. I couldn't place it exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good picture.
Yeah, we're both pretty young. I mean, look, we wore those tight jeans. They look as though they were made of skin tight spandex.
Looking good.
I wasn't a raving beauty at that time, but
I got some more pictures of you.
okay. Oh my goodness, that's
So this
Bill
is
Hamilton and Lee Brandon, my cousin Lee Brandon in the foreground and Bill Hamilton in the background.
August of 60.
Yep, that's the first summer, and that's pretty much where that fire with the big stake on it was done.
Oh, I remember you showing me that spot. So that's it right there. Okay.
Well, that's not the fire. That could be the same spot. As a matter of fact, we'll call it the fire
Yeah.
spot. The
'Cause it
gas.
looks like there's the grill right there.
Well, yeah, we would have used wood as much as we could, and the other little stove on the right was the Coleman stove, and it worked. But I've been wondering about this. This is really nice because, I'm thinking, well, I wonder if any of these people are still around. And I kind of knew I'd see these pictures again, but I really didn't know. But I was naming Lee Brandon. Again, he is probably still in Sarnia, Ontario, across from Port Huron. He is an adopted son of my mother's brother who lived up in Sudbury at the time. But Lee Brandon came and helped us plant trees. And Bill Hamilton was a high school buddy who must have helped too. I do remember that picture. And he kind of disappeared from my life at the end of high school. Before I moved to Orangeville, he got into some kind of a trouble. I don't know what it was, but I never saw him or heard of him again. Really nice guy, but he went away. And Lee also got into some trouble. He got into selling pot or something or other. I don't know what happened to him. I know that Karen kind of stays in touch, I think, casually. She certainly would know how to get a hold of Lee. I haven't seen Lee again for like a long, long, long time.
Okay.
I'm not good at keeping in touch with people.
I was looking at, August of 60. So our fathers purchased the property in January of 60.
Well, not January. They first
Or first
broached
looked.
the subject in January.
Okay.
You're
I'm
talking to the historian here.
shortly thereafter, they purchased
Yeah.
the property. So you guys were in the process of getting ready for your first season, right here in August.
Well, we were planting trees. That's why we were there.
Yeah. But I mean, that fall, the Palmolive shows up.
Yeah.
So you already were working on the trails and planting trees and
Well, we had, I think we had the little tractor at that point, but sometimes, to get to the trees, we had to drive up the fifth line to the top of the hill. So we would go with the little tractor, and I guess, I don't know when we got the trailer, but the trees were mostly planted at the top of the hill, but we were camping at the bottom. Actually, you have pictures of a tent in a barn foundation where we guys, some of us, camped out at the top of the hill, which was closer to where we were planting the trees.
is this all logs back here?
That's log, and I don't know exactly what that is. It's hard for me to believe that we did not have the timber jack at that time, and I really don't know why those logs are there. We put them there, I guess. We must have God, did we drag them down with the little tractor? That's a kind of a mystery to me.
Okay.
We'll solve that in time.
They look pretty big.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we really did not want to bury the darn things, and we did bury, believe it or not, some trees that size. But that's the origin of my passion with having a sawmill. Because I thought, why can't we do something with these logs? And it's the same story now. Unless you've got a truckload of logs piled up, ready to load onto that truck, you're not going to do any business with a sawmill company.
Right.
And it is a very different business now. But yeah, we'll sort that one out. It'll be interesting to pursue that
Okay.
because it's so early. It's hard for me to imagine we even had cut trees down. If that date, what's the date on it, did you say?
August.
August. Well, by that time, we no doubt were hauling trees down the hill, and we may even have had some other tractor or bulldozer or something or other to get them down and pile them up. But it's a blank at the moment for me. I mean, I
Okay.
used to do that with the timberjack, but that's pre-timberjack.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good picture.
Speaking of the timberjack,
Speaking of the timberjack, it looks as though it's got a back or a loader on it, but that's at Doug Frid's place of Twin Hearts fame. And that's our dog Ginger. Margaret and I lived over in the
Okay.
then defunct Aspen Chalet. Aspen had gone out of business when that picture was taken. And Margaret and I and young Heather and the dog lived in the chalet, and that truck belongs to a couple of firemen from a little town north of Toronto who somehow I tied into, and they had this truck with a loader on it, and they thought, oh, this is great. We got a guy with a timberjack. We're going to go into the sawmilling business. They even bought an old sawmill, not that old. We set it up at Twin Hearts for a year, maybe more. And somewhere along the line, I did some logging where Doug Frid built his house, and they hauled them on. But sometime along there, the timberjack was always breaking down, and it took forever to fix it. And there were some expenses involved in the hydraulic pump. I was trying to make a hydraulic log splitter work off the timberjack engine / pump. And I fried the pump by mistake completely, just bang, it's done. And it was like a $500 thing. And these guys were saying, oh yeah, we weren't counting on that kind of expenses. We're out of here, we're quitting.
Mhm.
So they left, and I had to get another pump on it. That's a really nice photo though.
Yeah.
There's a little shroud over the pump on the front of the engine there. It's
Yeah.
not there now.
What year do you think this picture was taken?
Oh, that was after Heather was born. So that would be way up into the 70s. Heather was born, in 74? So that's mid 70s, likely.
Okay.
Maybe even late 70s. Huh. Oh, that's a great picture. Yeah, Mom Karen gave Mother, would you believe, a Siamese cat? Not a gift to anyone because they're nuts. But anyway, that picture was taken just across from the chalet. I don't know what year. Oh, couldn't tell you.
So so I'm trying to think, is this like the bank where the, like to the right, is that where the palm lift would have been?
Well, to the right of that is that corkscrew hill that came down from the top of the
Okay.
first side, but it's near where that picture of the Unimog and the timberjack was taken.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just across from the chalet. Nice background. Mom always was enthralled with birch trees, and eventually she got some, with her house up in the hill. Yeah, that's a nice picture.
Yeah. So you're thinking, what year you think this is?
Well, I don't know. It could be as late as 1970, but I wouldn't say for sure.
Okay.
I still had short hair. Gosh, I had that short hair at that time. I thought I got a little longer hair after I came back from Europe, which was way back in 64. So I guess I had it short after that, obviously.
I wonder who took this picture.
I don't know. We had guessed, now and then. Could have been anyone.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, I've seen that many times. Oh. Okay. In 1963, I went to Europe. to go to the Olympics, which were in the spring of 1964. When I came back, I came on a ship called the Christopher Oldendorf from Antwerp, Belgium to Newport News, Rhode Island. And that's me on the ship. Probably that's America in the background or close to it with fairly, I didn't get my hair cut all the time I was in Europe. That's the first time I ever had hair much longer than a brush cut. Anyway, when I came back, there was something wrong with the photo on the left side. And I bought a motorcycle for $50 from Bill Spires' brother, who had this probably a Second World War vintage matchless single 500cc, I'll call it war vintage motorcycle. So I bought it for $50, my first motorcycle, and I used to drive it around the valley without a license or probably without a muffler. And that's looking in the far right would be Valley Shust and the hills in the background or whatever. So I cobbled this together just for fun years later, and I made the one slide out of it. I was a pretend photographer, but that was one of my my better deals.
So that motorcycle is called a matchless?
Matchless was a big company in Europe during the war. They made thousands of those. They went to Europe and they hauled, reconnaissance people around Europe.
And you said it was 500 cc's?
Single cylinder, 500cc. And Ross Lennox, he and I rode around on that. I mean, he was really enthralled. He was kind of like you at Valley Shust. He wanted to hang out behind me because he was a few years younger than me. Anyway, we were friends. So we'd ride around on that. I have memories of taking various girlfriends around the valley on that motorcycle and fixing it. Ross and I would drive down to Toronto to get a part or whatever. I remember taking the clutch apart and buying clutch discs and whatever. So anyway, the upside of that was that Ross became enthralled with motorcycles and motorcycling, and his career for many years was as a motorcycle racer, up the hill climbs and things like that. He was quite good at it, but he also had another career. Anyway, that's a great picture. And there's others in the bunch there of Ross on this other, the second one we bought was another $50 machine that was the Triumph. Anyway, that's cute.
How long, do you remember how long your boat ride was coming back across?
Oh, yes. 8 days altogether.
Okay.
And because I had never been on a ship before, I got constipated. And I don't think I vomited, but I was constipated for 8 friggin' days.
Whew.
And at that time, we were only like 12 or 13 passengers, and the crew, as it happens, I was slated to sleep in the same room as one of the crew, but he didn't make the trip, so I got my own room. But I ate great meals because they had really good food. These are German people, and the captain and the crew and the passengers all eat together, which was great fun. Big room full of a table just loaded in food. And I kept eating. I think, well, if I eat enough, then maybe I'll poo. Well, I had to have some mineral oil or something or other to help me out, but I did manage it before I got to the US. I was pretty stuffed when that picture was taken, but I was probably over it by then.
Yeah.
I needed the weight. I was skinny.
Yeah, I think we may have seen this picture before.
Yeah, well, that's where the toboggan is on the left side.
Yeah.
That's Marie's Run. I guess we had planted some trees by that time in the foreground. It's pretty early on in the tree life. They seem to me to be in the middle of the trail, but maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Great country, eh? Pretty
beautiful fall picture.
Nice view. Oh yeah.
Oh, so this is obviously the Palmolift.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's anybody in particular or if it's just you.
I don't know. There were lots of people around. It could have been me, and in the lineup there because it's a tall, skinny guy.
Was the fence basically just to keep people separated from getting in?
It kept people from coming down Murray's Run and seeing that they could grab a ride, behind the girl or whatever on another bar and not have to go through the lineup.
Oh, okay.
And it kept people from, crashing into skiers. So it was a protective thing. And
Yeah.
that's pretty soon. Yeah, the branches indicate that it's pre-T-bar, but well, obviously it's pre-T-bar. It's the Palmolift.
Right.
It was kind of a nice thing to ride. In lots of ways, it was nicer than a T-bar.
Why do you say that?
Well, you could be alone for one thing. And if you were a young, athletic, crazy guy, you could, when you got up past the steep part of the hill, even on the way up there, if you were a wild guy, you could pull the bar off the way off to one side and then the other side, and you could slalom up the friggin' hill and then pull the cable off the wheels and drive us nuts.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you said it, because as I was preparing for tonight and I was looking at that palm lift, I was thinking that exact same thing, you know, you know, with the say the T-bar, right? Where you'll have to help me out with the verbiage, but when you go across the tower, they had the cable went between two sets of rollers, right?
Went over them.
But
Well,
I mean,
one on the upside and one on the downside.
yeah, but did was it always, I always thought was there something between like the cable and then a roller below it and a roller above it, or no?
Now, in some cases there was, if there was any real danger of the cable coming off between the two rollers, the top one held it in place.
Okay.
Partly to keep those jerks from pulling it off, but partly if you had a change in grade, either a change over or under, the cable was at risk of coming off even more so, especially if it went under. So you often had two or more, a train of three maybe, or four in some cases, 6 or 8 in some cases, chairlifts of rollers or idlers, one after the other, to even out the weight of the cable, because it really hard pressed on the liners of these things. But there's several different arrangements. I'll make sketches of them and show them to you, because they're a little hard to explain, but they had reasons and mostly they worked. The Palma was different. I don't think it ever had any hold down towers, but it was, you know, somewhat different design.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was all, you know, there's a rationale for all of that. And we didn't come up with that because it, you know, it was a long standing thing in Europe when that palm lift was built. I don't know whether they were building T-bars in Europe at that time in 1960. They might have been, because they were ahead of us. But
Yeah.
Canada and the US, they were building all these. Hall company from upstate New York was building T-bars, and others were. Anyway, it's a technology that I know well, and I could talk endlessly about it if you don't put the cork in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, when I was looking at the tower for the pommel lift or whatever, that was the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, it seemed like it would be so easy for that cable to come off.
Yeah, well, the designers had to be sure there was quite a bit of weight on the cable, either down or up.
Okay.
Mostly it was down, but sometimes if you were going from not so steep to steep, you had to hold the cable down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we'll see a picture of the pommel lift here later. Oh,
Yeah, well, there's
well, actually, yeah. So see, I think I was maybe looking at this picture, like just how that cable just rides right on the top.
Well,
there.
that's the upside, and there was plenty of pressure on that wheel there.
Okay.
Partly why it was such a big diameter. It also evened out the pressure on the liner, because that cable could wear through a liner in a day if you had it improperly lined up or something wasn't quite right. And and on the way down, it's not in that picture, but there would have been the same amount of pressure on the cable in that particular location, much less in other locations.
Yeah, this is the other picture that when I look at it, I always think of what a crazy contraption
Well, yeah, that was done at a time when we had put the counterweight on the ground, which lessened the tension on the cable and let that bull wheel sag. So that's not lift operating mode.
Okay.
That's why that looks the way it does. It looks really weird.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And that rope dangling down to the ground is the secondary thing, but the big hoop close to the bull, that one came with the lift, but it was not all that effective. And we used to always experiment with adding this and that and trying this and that. And, you know, it was an experimental technology at the time. And that, by the way, is the Niagara Escarpment, and the entire background is all cliff.
Yep.
200 yards from where we took the picture.
Right.
Well, God bless Susan. Maybe we'll get in touch with her too. That would be really fun. She lives out in the middle of BC somewhere.
Do you know who these other two folks are?
Well, her two aunts, her aunt, both of them. Susan was raised by two sets of parents, one child, four parents in Toronto. And
Okay.
they were called the Paris's. Their name was Paris, but long story, it was really, I think it was a hard upbringing. They were well off, but I think she kind of suffered on account of that, and maybe I don't know what all else, but she was so tall and skinny. She was just ridiculously tall and skinny.
Yeah, yeah. No, that looks like a nice little bench that they had right there at the top of the hill.
Yeah, I had made that out of 2 blocks of wood and a board.
Yeah, that'd be a great view looking out over the valley.
Well, yeah, it certainly was. That's, people love to come there. You could just drive in there. You didn't have to ask any questions at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Mom just loved taking people up there. I did too. I mean, it was home.
Yeah, yeah.
What a nice home. Yeah, well, I climbed that tower. Then I made that darn timber frame thing out of barn timbers. Dad and I, we bought a barn that somebody was going to tear down, and we cut the siding off it because barn boards were in those days. They still are probably. And somehow we got those timbers. We didn't tear the frame down. I don't know where those timbers came from, but I was into these square timbers, which, all the pioneers made these things, aren't they wonderful? So this was a ski school sign/bell, and I was director of the ski school. I got the badge on there, and I had a cast on at that time because I had broken my leg.
Really?
Yeah, not skiing. And that thing behind me is called a syrup kettle. It's how they boiled maple syrup
Oh,
in the old days over a fire. And I used to, don't publish this, Harold, but I used to steal those things from farmers' fields. They would crack and you could no longer make maple syrup out of sap. And they
okay.
put them out in the field and put a big block of salt in them. And the cows would come and lick the salt. So I was a really bad young teenager from the city, and I stole 3 or 4 of those and brought them home. Something I regret. It's not my nicest memory.
Yeah. So that was just more of like an ornament or whatever, Hank?
Well, it was a place where the ski school would get together in the morning on Saturday or Sunday. People would, we rang the bell. You'll see the bell in some other picture. I'd ring the bell. Now, I don't know if I had a cast on that particular day, but I may have, maybe not. Anyway, I ran the ski school for a couple of years, but it really wasn't my cup of tea. I did it, and I did all sorts of things that it was good to learn, but I didn't stick with some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice picture though, and that would be, an east-facing hill that got some sun in the morning, and there you go. It makes the snow go away.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy smokes.
I can't remember if we've looked at this one before. I see that because I remember us talking about the trailer.
Yeah, well,
So-
it is looking to where the top of that third T-bar, the last T-bar was. I'm tempted to say it's where the jump was, and I guess it is. The big tree in the middle is the apple tree that we didn't want to cut down, but eventually we did. That's the Caribou Trail behind it. And it was constricted, the trail was, by this apple tree, which it was in a little bit of a gully, another one of those gullies that came from the Wisdom Flood, but it wasn't big. In any case, that would have been taken about the time that we said, okay, we got to bulldoze this trail wider, and that means we're going to sacrifice that nice apple tree, and we did.
So was this a ski run over here?
Well, no, that was that's on the property, well, almost on the property Dad severed for himself.
Okay.
But again, we'll talk maybe more about this, but some places in that picture I can identify. It's all forest now, of course, with planted trees. That's where quite a lot of that 20,000 trees went into that field, not because it was going to stop snow, but because we had way more trees than we needed along the trails.
I see these pines in the back. Did you plant these?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There were no trees there when we came. The deciduous forest beyond that, you can see that line. That's the edge of the forest.
Yeah.
And one of the several of the big gullies are in that area. And I will pursue that story endlessly, and you'll know why in time. I mean, you already know a bit, but I really want a lot of people to know the history of erosion on that property. Thank goodness the trees, mitigated the erosion
Yeah.
quite a bit, a lot. Yeah, that's neat.
All right, so this is looks like a picture looking out towards the parking lot again.
Yep, with the T-bar over that person's shoulder.
Yeah. There's like two of these pictures, so
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a year on these.
Yeah, well, probably not. But one of the problems we always had was it's so far from the parking lot to the chalet that people didn't like it. So they early on they drive all the way up the laneway that we used, and they park as close as they could to the chalet, and it became a real problem. So we eventually stopped them at the bottom of that T-bar, and they all had to walk.
Okay.
I wouldn't know who that is. Yeah, well, that's really neat.
All
So
right.
glad I got to fly over and take those pictures.
Yeah. Now this picture, I don't know if I got it flipped the right way. I can't.
Oh, that's the right way.
Is it?
Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not.
See, I'm totally confused when I look at this picture. Is this of Valley
I am.
Shush?
Just let me take a breath here.
Yeah.
It is a little scrambled to me. Okay, follow the parking lot towards us, around the corner and to the road, which, okay, where the road and that white clearing meet, that's where the Bruce Trail meeting place was, but yeah.
Is this see, do you think this is Valley Shush?
Oh, it is Valley Shush. I can tell from the parking lot and the trails.
Okay, it's just
But
the way that
it's turned around. It is absolutely upside down.
okay. Yeah, I'll
For
have
sure.
I'll have to-
Can you see my finger?
no.
Well, the road on my right foreground goes across the parking lot, and to the right of that is the hill that Mom and Dad were going to build on. So it's not on that side of the road, it's on the other side. And that picture is absolutely wrong.
Yeah, yeah. It should, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
The reverse is the proper thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, that's fun to look at it that way because
Well,
I'm an old man and I get confused sometimes.
yeah,
Read that one.
I was confused because it like I mean, you know, the parking lot's very distinctive the way it comes off the fifth. I mean, there's a lot of things. It's just like
Yeah, didn't quite add up.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll have to get that one flipped over. But that's another great winter picture for sure.
Yeah. Well, it may have been one of my early trips up. I don't know how many times I flew, 3 or 4 anyway, over 10 years or more.
Yeah.
That was pretty great. I mean, I was a privileged kid, Harold. I had
You got a lot of flight time back then. I know that.
well, I don't know how many hours it was, but most kids didn't get to fly around at that time.
Yeah, no, I can
And that's
imagine.
the original T-bar that we built with a cockshot tractor part in it. Yeah, it went through that little copse of trees halfway up the hill. They were poplars.
Okay.
I was driving that ski lift, running it one day when the cable came off that first tower, and all the bars fell down and a bunch of people fell on the ground, and there weren't many people on it, but I remember stopping it really quickly because it could have killed somebody easily, but it didn't.
Yeah. Was this basically the top right here?
Yeah, and that's why, to get to the chalet from way up on the 5th line, you had to go around the top of the T-bar right where your cursor is.
Okay.
And it was really problematic. You had to cross the lift when it was running, and that was a no-no.
Yep.
It was terribly dangerous. Yeah, we learned our lessons, with, on the ground.
Yeah.
But it was a way, that T-bar was put there so that people, when they came into the parking lot, they could see a ski resort.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they couldn't. This isn't a ski resort. I'm going somewhere else. Oh, and there she loved to pose. Mom knew how to have a picture taken of her, and she liked to pose, and there she is.
That's a great picture.
In all her glory, yeah.
Do you think you took this picture?
Oh, quite possibly. It
Okay.
could have been anyone.
Yeah, see the jump down here.
There it is, yeah. And
That's
there's the knob, the pointed hill. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be a romantic picture to send to anyone in the family? To be fair,
I
We
sent,
were all rather proud of this place.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I sent Karen this picture.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
She doesn't have any of the or not many of the memories I have. I mean, she did ski there for sure, but she was not there very often at that time, like
Right.
rarely.
Yeah, no, that's a great picture of your mom.
Yeah. And to me, it's also a glaciology lesson and a geology lesson. There's the escarpment right on the horizon at Gordon Henry's farm. On that high point is Gordon Henry's farm.
Talk about over here.
Well, way up at the top where it meets the horizon.
Oh, up here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the distance, there's another mound, which, over Mom's head. The escarpment ran all along there,
Okay.
and you couldn't see the cliff, but I knew that, I knew all about it. And this is good stuff, Harold, because if we down the road are in a position to show these pictures to Bruce Trail people or Niagara Escarpment Biosphere Reserve people, they'll love it
Yeah. Yep.
over my dead body. They'll love it or else. That's turned down around the right way. You know all about that picture.
Yeah. You know, when I was looking at this before, I was trying to find a lift line. I think that's a lift tower right there going right up. Does that look about right where the lift?
Yeah, and the two rows of trees are on either side of Murray's Run, over to the right of that.
Yeah.
That's Murray's Run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between Murray's Run and the lift was like the Wildcat, or not the Wildcat, but the Wendigo and the Fifth Line Trail, which kind of started at the top but went all through that, bunch of trees.
Yeah, I remember you were saying, so you guys left these trees and people could ski through these or around them?
Well, initially it was just because there were trees there. There was not really attractive skiing terrain at the beginning. And we didn't groom it for years probably in that area, because when we were first there was no trail down the Fifth Line. If you wanted to ski down the road, you were on your own. It took forever to get back to the chalet. But there was only Murray's Run, Wendigo, and the Caribou, probably when that picture was taken. So we started to realize that we wanted to branch out a bit. So we put that other, moved the T-bar over eventually, put the big T-bar up, and a lot of people could go down this way. And then right down there where your cursor is and off to the right was this trail that it went under the bridge that we built under the T-bar. There was no bridge at the time we had the Palmolive.
Right.
You couldn't go down that. And it was a washout anyway with our dump in it. So we hid that away and pretended we weren't bad guys and built a bridge and you could ski down. It was a nice trail. A little bit like Murray's Run, actually. And again, we needed variety big time. It was not the greatest place to build a ski resort. I've said that too many times. So, it sufficed, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, I got a question for you. So when we were walking to Bruce Trail, did it basically go right across here on Murray's Run?
Well, somewhere through that piece of forest. Well, whoa, stop at the top. That's where the toboggan is.
Okay.
Right there, maybe in the little clearing, but it was left at the edge of the forest before those trees were planted, the little ones on Murray's Run. That's where it met its demise, and God bless it, it's still there in bits and pieces. So that's where it is. We walked through some of that piece of forest. I don't remember exactly where, but we'll revisit that, and I hope, and I'll tell you exactly where we were. I was quite confused when we first walked over there. Like I said, the toboggan's not there. We're not where the toboggan used to be. And then I realized, wow, I just crossed Murray's Run and I didn't know it.
Let me get back to where we were at.
Yeah.
No, I was just, when I was looking at this, so this was the top, you'd come down, then it kind of plateaued a little bit.
Yeah.
Then to me, it reminded me of where we walked across the Bruce Trail was about right here, because then it gets steep and goes back.
And that was the steep part where my dad and I had our pictures taken.
Yep. Okay.
And then the deck is right under the strut of the aircraft.
Yep. And there's where it turns.
And then there's a right turn there, and that's on down near where Wendigo and Murray's Run met.
Yeah. So
it was a pretty nice trail, actually, to be fair. It was nicer than I sometimes give it credit for.
Yeah. So this was.
But because of the water, it was problematic and on and on.
Yeah, so like you were saying at the beginning, it would have been like the Fifth Line Trail, the Wendigo,
Well,
Murray.
not in the beginning, those came 2 or 3 years after we first started.
Okay,
I mean, there was no Fifth Line Trail per se at that time. In certain snow conditions, some people would go down through that field with the trees in it here and there. And if the snow was hard enough on the top, you could pretend it was a glade and you could end up eventually at the chalet, but it was quite out of the way at that time. So I guess you could call it a trail, but it wasn't an established groomed trail. It was not groomed in the initial few years.
oh, okay.
Murray's Run always was. It was the bread and butter trail.
Gotcha.
Really, it was the only, I'll call it good. I guess it was a good trail.
You,
I have to call it good. It's got my name on it. What the heck?
you take a guess of what year this was?
Oh, well, it's pre-T-bar. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the T-bar involved quite a bit of fill at the top of the hill. So that's between 1960 and 1970.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't tell which year.
Yeah.
A year when we had some snow. Too many years there was hardly
Yeah.
any snow.
Well, it's, as I'm looking at this picture, I remember something you were telling me, but, with the wind and keeping snow on top of the hill, so you can definitely tell where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
suffering here, but then you
Yeah.
look down here and there's definitely more.
The forest is the windbreak. You can see it. It's very graphic in that picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we knew right away we had to get some trees up there.
Yeah.
Actually, in that picture, those lines could well be snow fence and not trees.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I bet you that's snow fence.
I think so. Because I don't know why we took the snow fence down in the summertime. Maybe just because it got beat up and we were always buying, crappy snow fence. And I remember hammering in a million stakes and then pulling the darn things out in the fall and putting them again in the spring. Meanwhile, we're, saying we got to put some trees in here. Of course, they're going to be years before they do what a snow fence does. So it was a constant, evolutionary effort to keep snow on that part of the hill. Not that there was a lot of snow in the rest of the hill, but it didn't blow off.
Yeah. So I need to ask you a question to clarify something. So let's just say the beginning. So
Yeah.
the first couple of years of skiing, you didn't use this coming down parallel to the Fifth Line?
It was not even, well, it may have been thought of, but we had no ability to make it into a trail. One of the thing was you had to go down this steep bit at the top and then you're forever, like 3 times as far as on Murray's Run. You're on this gently sloping slope that some days you could barely get down it because the snow was slow and all that stuff. So it was really an effort just to get down to the top of the T-bar or back to the chalet if you did not go down either the Wendigo or Murray's Run.
Right.
Or the Caribou.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All
So
right.
yeah, I mean, it was very inviting. I told you the story one time when your dad and my dad and I early went on there. We went down the Fifth Line when you could get down it because the spring was over, and we went just below the top of the hill into that open field there. And we thought, well, we should have the chalet here, and the parking lot might go at the top. Well, for a lot of good reasons, that didn't happen. It's just as well it didn't, because whatever. The reasons I won't go into right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I
All right. Let's see.
mean,
This picture too, for some reason, I thought wasn't oriented correctly.
yeah, I think you're right. Yep, you are right.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite
Because that's the
scan.
that's the pommel lift.
Yeah, it's backward.
Okay, yeah, it's the hard thing for me when I'm using that scanner.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
now that I've looked
Well,
at them and talked to you with them, it'll be easier when I go back and.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing it. It's really wonderful. I mean, I recognize the fireplace right away, and the orientation between it and the T-bar is not right.
Okay, all right.
Right part is we have snow.
Yeah, it looks good.
Wow, that's way up at the top.
Okay.
From the west. That's a good graphic picture of these washouts I talked about. Not that I can point them out easily, but we had planted trees just to the left of the strut is the the bunch at the top of the Greening T-bar. Yeah, where we stopped.
Oh,
Yeah,
is this where top of the third T-bar?
yeah, go over to the left a bit. There's a, right there. That's where the top of the T-bar was, right there.
Okay, yep.
And you can see over to the fifth line, especially on the right side.
So were the tree that we stopped and you talked about that you put your arm around, was that over?
Oh, right there, yeah, right there.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm interested in the age of those trees because, well, I guess we walked through like from the top of the Greening T-bar through that copse, and actually that would be the group in which the heather tree sits. And in the little clearing just above it to the left, that's the big tree that's now on the ground. Move to the left and upward. That's the caribou. And one of those two trees or
these?
three, yeah, one of those is the big mother that's on the ground.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
The jump was down through there somewhere. You can't see it, but it was in there.
Okay.
Your cursor is close to where the jump was.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, we got to sit in the same room sometime and, jabber about this, but this is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I just think that is so cool that, I got the video of us, you were telling me about that T-bar.
Oh, Harold, I have on my chair just across the room here, a big sketch I made at your wife's when she and I sat there alone and talked about the top of that ski lift.
Yeah.
I described to her and she pointed something out. She said, well, what's that? I said, I don't know. I'll go and look at it. And so I have a sketch of that orientation of the various parts of the T-bar right on my desk here. It may not work for you, but it is a pretty accurate description of the design of that upper terminal and how you come up the hill and you get off and whatnot. I wanted to do that because it refreshed my memory of the design of that thing. And I kind of wish they had done more of them, but it was a one-off, one-of-a-kind thing. But it was quite well designed, I thought. So I've got that on paper here, in my notes.
Right. No, I just think that is so cool because you planted those trees and you could, obviously, and then when we were walking a trail,
yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, 60 years later, how grown up they were. And then we got that clip of you talking about that's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. No kidding. And, a lot of the features in the foreground, I know intimately.
Yeah.
And off to the right, the top right of the picture, that's near where Mom and Dad's house was.
Oh.
The line that runs down, that's the edge of the property. So the straight line, that's it. Yeah, that's the edge of the property.
Okay.
And the little group of trees was on either side of that. And that's where the house was right there.
Okay.
Close to that.
Yeah.
That big elm tree, we had a rope swing in that elm tree. I was famous for rope swings, and I still am.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I built hundreds of rope swings. Well, maybe 20 or 30.
Yeah.
I like exaggerating, Harold.
Oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah, that's really a lovely early picture. Really very nice.
Yeah.
Thank God for Elton Townsend. It's really neat that the guy across the road, the flyer, knew Elton Townsend.
Yeah.
The lake aircraft guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah, that was
I
Mike.
guess all flyers are nice, aren't they?
Most of us are.
Yeah.